Buckle up and welcome to Musicians and Beyond, where we bring you the backstage info on the life, the lyrics, and the long journeys of the music industry. Last episode, we had Chris Shelby, and you can find him on Instagram at Chris Shelby Music. And he came in and played a few songs for us and really is a up and coming musician. And you don't want to miss him. He's been all over New England, Nashville, and everywhere in between. So make sure you go back and check out our last episode with Chris Shelby. And he even talks music and he talks cars. So two great things to talk about. And great things to talk about today. We have from Nashville, Tennessee, we have Ash Taylor. And she is truly an amazing musician, singer, songwriter. And you're going to love everything that she has to tell us. She has a pretty cool story about when she started out, how she had to sell everything and put the gamble in. So without further ado, this Bad Ash, see what I did there? Bad Ash, Ashley Taylor. All right, let's do it.
Awesome.
Ash Taylor, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today.
It's so exciting to have you. You have a tremendously busy schedule between your music and your new podcast, which I want to get into your podcast later on. But first, I want to talk to you about your whole music career and how you started getting into this.
Well, I grew up in Bakersfield, California. And so, those that might not be familiar with my hometown, I grew up in the original Nashville. So, it's the home of Buck Owens and Merle Haggard and the Bakersfield Sound, you know. So, I grew up surrounded basically by California country music. And my grandmother was a massive country music fan, and she always had it on in the house. And so, I grew up loving story songs, right? I love songwriting. I love telling a story. And when I was about 13 years old, I was sitting in my grandparents' double wide. And I remember my Nana always had on CMT, country music television. And I remember sitting there this one day, and this girl came flying off of a four-wheeler singing about being a redneck woman. And her name was Gretchen Wilson. And I don't know if you remember her or not, but I saw her come flying off of that four-wheeler, and I turned to my Nana and I said, "That is what I want to be when I grow up." And she said, "What, a
Wow.
redneck?" And I said, "Hell yeah." I mean, I just thought she was so cool, you know, and she wrote all of her own songs, which was something at the time not a lot of artists were doing. And so that kind of gave me this idea because she was just so relatable to me. She was just like me, right? And so I was like, man, I could do that. So I started playing guitar in high school and started writing terrible songs in my bedroom. But, you know, I just kind of started over time getting into it. Right after high school, I actually went into audio engineering. So I actually went into to school and I worked in multiple studios in my hometown of Bakersfield, but also over in LA, and I loved that. I kind of realized though as time went on, it wasn't creative enough for me. I wanted to be the person that was really getting creative, right? Like writing the songs and engineering the records and producing them. And what if we tried this crazy sound? When you go to audio school and you're an engineer, it's mostly people telling you what to do. You know, hey, do it to this many hertz or this many that. So I wanted to be more creative. And so that led me more into the songwriting aspect of things. And so I started to really hone in and kind of work that craft, kind of just right after high school. And that led me meeting a gentleman by the name of Clay Mills, who is a very successful hit songwriter here in Nashville. So he wrote Darius Rucker's Don't Think I Don't Think About It,
Wow.
Beautiful Mess for Diamond Rio. I mean, the list goes on and on, but we ended up getting connected and just had a lot in common. And he was starting a company at the time called Songtown USA, which is all about teaching people how to write songs and all about the business. And he offered me a position. He goes, you know, I think you're crazy talented. Him and his business partner, Marty, the two of the people that ran it, they were like, hey, we think you're great. I think you're really talented, but like you're not going to get very far just writing songs in your bedroom. And if you want to make it happen, you got to move to Nashville. And so I accepted his position and I literally sold everything that I owned. I hopped on a plane. I moved to Nashville. I had never even seen the state of Tennessee before. I just sold
Wow.
everything, hopped out, and came out. And it was just an opportunity, though, I just could not turn down, though, right? To learn how to write songs from a master at it and to learn all about this. And so that's what I did. So my first 6 months here in Nashville, I slept in my car. It was a Chrysler '06 PT Cruiser.
Wow.
I call it a PT Loser. No offense, sorry if anyone owns one, but yeah, I mean, I slept in the back seat of my car and I just started writing song after song after song. And when I moved to town, I really moved here just to write songs for other people. And I've been very blessed to have a lot of other people record songs that I've written. But probably a year or two in, I had somebody who was a very successful manager in the music business. They looked at me and they said, "You're an artist." And I'm like, what does that mean? Right. And so that kind of led me to really dive in though to the being an independent recording artist and what does it look like when I want to tell a story and what do I want to sound like. And I think that was the creativity that I was so desperately seeking in my early days. So I'm really blessed to do music full time, and yeah, it's my full job to just record music and tour the country, and I am very, very blessed because of that.
That's an amazing story. How long ago did you move to Nashville?
So, let's see, I'll be celebrating 9 years in Nashville next month.
Wow, congrats. Congrats.
Thanks.
So
Yeah,
that's
thank
a
you.
pretty ballsy move to sell everything that you own
Hmm.
and go out where you don't know anyone for the most part, don't know the
Yeah.
lay of the land or anything like that, and put all your eggs in one basket and do it. But if you didn't try, you wouldn't be here today. So congrats to having the guts to go out there and be the star.
Well, thank you so much. I thought the timing was great. At the time, it's like I wasn't married. I don't have kids. I wanted to write and just make music more than anything, but I didn't really know how. And so I thought by moving to Nashville, that was the key. And to have someone be willing to teach me, I couldn't. There's no way, even if I went to college for music, that I could have learned though the things that I did about songwriting because I would work so hard, but I would get to sit in the room and watch Hall of Fame songwriters every day. Just sit in the living room and just write this masterpiece, time after time after time. And then I would ask when they were done, I'm like, okay, so why did you go with this hook? And why did you change the melody there? And what did you do so I just, it was invaluable, my years of getting to experience all of that and soak it in. It's something I'm so grateful for. I really am very, very blessed to have that opportunity.
Wow, it's amazing that you got to, rub elbows with all these people early on in your career. And
Hmm.
obviously that has helped because our listeners and viewers probably don't realize, unless they're musicians, what it takes to get to where you are. I mean, there's hours and hours and who you know and the door
Yeah.
shutting on your face and a lot of no's. You are going to run into that, so you have to be somewhat thick-skinned.
Hmm.
So it's pretty interesting. So for our listeners that are either musicians or aspiring musicians, that's probably some good advice to be aware that all these things could happen to you.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. In fact, if they're not happening to you, I think you're doing something wrong. I really do. I think part of being in music is yes, you have to have very tough skin and really don't take anything personal. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but some I like to, I think this is a great way to put it. I make records for a certain group of people. Not everyone is going to like my music, and I'm okay with that. But if the people that I make records for enjoy my music, and if I have my family and my fan base and like whatever, then that's okay. And not everyone likes country music even, right? I mean, there's so many things, but you can either get really upset when someone says, "I don't like that," or "I don't like country music," or you can just be like, "Okay, cool. I mean, you're welcome to your opinion. Now, I may think you're wrong, but we live in a free country. But I think part rejection is part of it. And you can either take that for what it is and really stop and ask yourself, okay, well, is this something where I make records for these people? Is this something that they'll enjoy? If it's not, then don't worry about it. Just go find your group and you keep focusing on you and your fan base. And I think if you look at history, that's what every successful artist has done. People like Chris Stapleton, I think is a great example. Chris Stapleton has been in Nashville for years and years, I mean, decades before we even knew who his name was, right? I mean, he wrote song after song for other artists. He sang that way his whole life. Can you imagine being that good at that?
Right.
and still record labels passed him up. Do you think Chris Stapleton, when someone told him no, let it ruin his day and shut down his world? No, he just kept writing. He just kept doing his thing because he knew, well, this is what I do. This is who I make music for, and I'm gonna have a good time doing it. And I think you see that though time and time again. And so I think that's where knowing yourself and being authentic, um, and just basically knowing who you are and who you make records for really comes into play. And so if anyone's wanting to pursue this, I think if you could figure that part out, first, like figure out who you are, figure out who you make records for, and then move to a town like Nashville, I think you'll put yourself years and years ahead.
Yeah. And when you move to Nashville, there's some positives and obviously some negatives. There is a million incredible musicians like yourself. How do you get yourself to stand out from the others?
I think that kind of goes back to knowing who you are and knowing your niche because everyone here is so talented. And honestly, sometimes talent, I hate to say it, I don't really know how much that means nowadays. I think you can be an amazing vocalist and songwriter and have all the right things, but a lot of people nowadays kind of focus on numbers and TikTok, and that's okay. But you have to know what you're chasing. All right, do you want to be a TikTok type of artist? Do you want to go viral? Like, what are your goals? I also think some people, when they move to Nashville, they just think they have to be the next Carrie Underwood, right? Or the next Luke Bryan or whatever. And I think there's so many different avenues in music that you can take. One of my absolute favorite artists who I really admire and would love to have a career like hers, she's kind of my blueprint in so many ways, is a lady by the name of Brandy Clark. And Brandy's a phenomenal artist, has put out many amazing records, won a couple Grammys. She writes songs though for so many people, and she tours the country. She also just wrote the musical Chucked with Shane McAnally, another Nashville
Oh,
songwriter.
yeah.
So I mean, she floats. I mean, she's like, I write hit songs for other people. I put out my own records. I tour the world. But it's like I also think as successful as she is, she's not a mainstream known artist, right? She's not Carrie Underwood, but she does something that is so cool and so unique, and that's her songwriting, right? And that's who she is, and it just works. So I think if people are going to move here, I think just finding who you are, what's important to you, and kind of what your niche is, right? Figure that out and then move here. It really will set you apart from the rest for sure.
That's awesome. We already have a Carrie Underwood, so we don't need a second one. So it's
That's right.
kind of
Yeah.
cool that, you don't want to be someone else. You want to be yourself.
Yeah.
You want to be Ash Taylor. People want to listen to you and don't say, she reminds me of or sounds like. You have your own sound and your own songwriting technique.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing about living in Nashville is once you kind of figure out who you are and your own niche, then you're surrounded by so many amazing people that can actually help you grow in that talent and in that niche and really kind of dive in to the roots of who you are and really kind of help what you're trying to do come across to other people. And it kind of sets off this beautiful chain reaction.
Yeah, it seems like people work hard to break through that wall. And
Mhm.
once they get there, the tentacles go out and there's, contacts everywhere and a lot of, you know, elbow rubbing.
Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah. And then your schedule gets very, very booked. And and then that also is where knowing who you are comes into play because then you're going to have people fighting for your attention and they're going to pull you in 50 different directions and you got to figure out which way you want to go.
Well, that's not
So
a bad problem to have, though.
it
Just have
sure
all
is
these
not.
people, that's what you signed up for. That's what you wanted.
It
And
is.
now you
Yeah.
got it. So
Yeah. No,
that's really cool.
yeah.
You had mentioned you've written some songs for some pretty big name artists. Who has recorded some of your songs?
Yeah, so I've had a little over 30 different artists cut my songs.
Wow.
My first big cut on like a record label and that kind of stuff was actually with a reality TV star named Big Smo. He had a reality TV show on A&E, and I wrote the first single off of his album, This One's For You. It's a song called Summer Song. That was my very first major label cut. And then I've had national touring artist Noah Smith. I've written songs for guitar legend Johnny Hyland. I've written, oh man, so many. And then I've had a lot of major label artists also put my songs on hold. Meaning they hear a song and maybe they're getting ready to make a record and they go, hold on, I may want to record that. Don't play it for anyone else. Don't do anything. So I've had songs on hold by artists like Miranda Lambert. I've had Luke Combs. I've had Luke Bryan. I've had Billy Currington. So I've had several holds as well. But yeah, and honestly, I mean, I write all of my own music as well. So when you go to my Spotify as an artist and you listen to songs by Ash Taylor, I write probably about 95% of my catalog by myself. So it's even rare nowadays that I even have co-writers. So I love writing though for other people. I love writing for myself. I just love to write songs for sure.
Mhm. So why wouldn't a musician try to write their own song? Just some people have the niche and some people don't.
Mm. Well, I think if you're an artist and you're wanting to write a song for you, you're going to have to know a lot about yourself. You're going to have to know a lot about your fan base, right? Are they going to like the song? Are they not? You have to take a lot of things into consideration. What's trending right now? What's something I don't have, right? A lot of people will get in a groove, artists especially, where they'll write like basically the same song, right? Like different titles or slightly different, but they're all really just the same song, right? And so then if you're playing a live show, right? Like I think of it like this way. Like let's say if you were an artist and you go, "Hey Ash, I'm recording an album. I'm going on tour next year, and we should write because I need projects for this." Okay, so I would literally stalk you online. Okay. I'm letting my secrets out here, but I would go online, I'd listen to every song he ever put out, and I would listen for like the subject matter that you sing about. I would study your range. How high can you sing? How low can you sing? I would look at who's sponsoring your tour. I would look at all of these different things about you, almost kind of mixing the business, marketing, branding aspect of things along with the creative songwriting side of things. And so then when I would get in a room and we would write a song together, I don't think a lot of people are aware enough to realize they know this, much about themselves, right, and their own brand. But I'm like, okay, so I saw, you have this song, but you don't have a ballad, right? Maybe all your songs are like these big up tempo things. Here's a really cool ballad idea I think you'll like. And then maybe I mention names of companies, right, that are sponsoring your tour or like your fan club name. So I think it can be hard for an artist sometimes to put their hat on and go, because it's very much a business, right? It's a music business. How do I get to be commercially successful as a songwriter? And it's honestly just a big blend of knowing who you are or who the artist is, knowing what it is we need to say, what don't you have, who's going to buy the record. There's a lot of work I figure out ahead of time before I walk into a room to write with an artist. And I think a great example is actually my first cut that I just mentioned with Big Smo, who's a reality TV star. I wrote that song with just me and Smo, which is very random. Usually you'd have maybe four or five people for a song like that. And if you go look at all the credentials on that record, they're all huge hit big songwriters, right? I was a nobody. So it's like, well, how did you get the single? How did you get on the song? Like I was like a 20 something year old kid, just, writing songs, just do my thing. But I studied Smo. I watched his reality TV show. I went and listened to all of his music. I went and I studied him. And then when I walked in the room, I had a great idea that I knew he was going to like. And then as we're writing the song, I'm like, Smo, I see PBR is sponsoring your next tour. Let's have a line in the second verse about, PBR. And he's like, Ash, that's fantastic. They're going to love that. Yes. And then, he calls his fans kinfolk, right? That's what he calls his fan club. And he loves his fans. He's such a great guy. So I'm like, all right, Smo, second verse. Let's talk about the kinfolk pulling up in their four-wheel drive. He loses their mind because he knows when I'm on stage and Smo's singing, when he says their name, the crowd's gonna go nuts. And so it's giving an artist those tools when you're writing for an artist on what can you do to up your live show? What can you do to make your fans go crazy? What can you do that people want to come back and re-listen to this song and buy your records? And there's so much more, I think, than just songwriting when you're writing for I would say a commercial artist, right? If that makes sense.
Absolutely. It seems like you do a lot of hours of homework before you even get in the room
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
That's another one of those things that we talked about earlier, how the average everyday person doesn't know really what goes into a song and how much really goes into it. I mean, time, money, everything. And
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
it's musicians are really underpaid for what they do.
I agree with that full-heartedly. Yeah.
You
And,
know,
not complaining, but yeah, when I make a record, so any of my, music that I've put out within the past 4 to 5 years, my husband Chris and I actually play all the guitar parts on my records, which in Nashville is a very odd thing because usually you would get a studio, you have a producer, you have an engineer, and then you would hire however many session musicians to play all the different parts and instrumentation. And it's very rare in Nashville that the artist or a person of that, of the live band would come in and play on a record. It's very different here than most places, but I do that. And it takes me, clearly hours because I like to sit and come up with the parts. I just don't do one or two passes. I want to get it right, right? It's like I'm trying to tell a story. But like I was just in the studio the other day. We're working on a bunch of new music. I was in the studio for 6 hours the other day, and it's just me and my husband and the producer, and we were just filling out a track with guitar parts. And there's all these different tones and all that goes into it. So yeah, it's quite a time commitment for sure. There is a lot that goes into it.
absolutely. So obviously, your husband is a musician as well. Is he out?
Yes.
Is he out playing, or does he do it for fun? What is his story?
So Chris, my husband, is a very talented musician. So he actually is my band leader, my lead guitar player, and my manager currently. So we're very blessed we get to do music together. It's a lot of fun having your husband come out on the road with you. But yeah, so when like if you go listen to any record, like I said, that's him playing lead guitar. Sometimes I play lead as well, but him and I play all the guitar parts. He comes out on the road. He's always on my right hand side, shredding away on his lead guitar. But yeah, it's really great that I think to be married to someone that you can actually go travel the world and do this with.
How exciting to be able to share your passion with the one that
Yeah.
you love. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we talked about your music, and I was hoping that you would play us a couple of songs and maybe tell us how you came up with the lyrics for it and the meaning behind it. So
Oh, I'd love to.
we would love to have you do that. Maybe you can do that for us.
Yeah, and since we were just talking about my husband, I'd love to tell you a little bit about a song that's actually my current single that yeah, I guess this came out last fall. I actually wrote it about him, so that seems pretty fitting since we were just talking about him to play
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Ash Taylor. And you can go on her website, ashtaylor.com. And she also has an Instagram, Ash Taylor Country. And then Facebook and YouTube is under Ash Taylor. So make sure you go on and check her out. You will not be disappointed. She's an amazing singer, songwriter out of Nashville. She has a great story behind her. So again, make sure you check out and support Ash Taylor.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So, my husband, Chris, like I was saying, is my lead guitar player. He's my band leader. He's he's a little bit of everything. But we just celebrated 4 years of being married this past May. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. So yeah, so I wrote this song. It's called Stuck on Indiana, and I actually wrote it all about Chris. So he's from the great state of Indiana, and like we were talking about, I'm a California girl, and we basically met here in Nashville at a guitar center, if you can imagine that. So he was playing lead guitar in a band for a girl that I was friends with, and I was working there at the Guitar Center at the time, and we met and just I don't know, haven't looked back since. But I never thought in a million years, I never thought I would get married. I was like, not my thing. I thought I was just going to write songs and basically hang out with my dog the whole time. I had everything planned out. And then he walked in and it all just changed. So, yeah, this is a song that I wrote about him. It's called Stuck on Indiana.
No, Wyoming, still don't know why I left. In Georgia, left me for some girl out west. Things were always rocky with Colorado, and damn if I think twice about Ohio. And I don't miss Mississippi, nothing new in New Orleans. California keeps calling, and Tennessee misses me. No, I've never had a problem leaving. I could always just move on. Oh, but this time I'm stuck. I'm stuck on Indiana. They say you can't put a rock on a rolling stone, but this boy makes me feel like I'm finally home. And I've gone round and round like a race car track, but he's the only thing that keeps me coming back. And I don't miss Mississippi, nothing new in New Orleans. California keeps calling, and Tennessee misses me. No, I've never had a problem leaving. I could always just move on. Oh, but this time I'm stuck. I'm stuck on Indiana. He makes me wanna put down some roots and buy some land, put a ring on my hand. And I don't miss Mississippi, nothing new in New Orleans. California keeps calling, and Tennessee misses me. No, I've never had a problem leaving. I could always just move on. Oh, but this time I'm stuck. I'm stuck on Indiana. I'm stuck on Indiana.
And then he came along and truthfully just changed everything. So my husband is from Indiana, literally the middle of nowhere out in the cornfields. And I'm a California girl. I grew up in Bakersfield, and we met here in Nashville. And so I guess you can just say I'm stuck on Indiana. And that's kind of how the song came to be. I wrote it by myself one night looking at one of our wedding pictures and just kind of had the idea hit me, and wrote it in about an hour. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So it came pretty naturally. And not only is it a great song, but you have a great video that goes along with it that I watched before we come in here.
Thank you. Yeah. And, something, a couple cool facts about that video people might not know. So, one, my husband, Chris, is actually also my camera guy. I should give him props. So,
This guy
he
does it
actually,
all.
I'm telling you, man, he
Holy.
also is a very good cook. So I lucked out. But yeah, so my husband Chris actually filmed all that video, and he actually edited it and color graded it and all that. And we actually filmed it in his backyard in Indiana. So we filmed it like 30 feet from the home he grew up in.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
thanks.
think Chris is a keeper.
I think so. That's why I was like, you know what? I wasn't planning on getting married, but for you, I'll make an exception.
There you
So
go.
no, he's so multi-talented and wonderful, and honestly just a great human being. And I don't know why he puts up with me, but I'm grateful he does.
You're both lucky to have each other.
There you go.
I'm
Yes,
sure.
thank you.
So we talked about your music, and you recently started into another niche, and you have your own podcast, and that is called Ash Fault, like asphalt, but Ash
Yep.
Fault podcast. So for our listeners, please go and check her out and give her a follow. She's got some great guests, and we have a lot of things that are similar in our podcast. We like to talk to people and find out where they come from, what they do, and how they do it. Can you tell us a little bit about your Ashfault Podcast.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, by the way, for bringing that up. So I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I've had people for years tell me I should. And I finally just decided to pull the trigger. So it's a podcast all about life on the road. So I interview everything from touring musicians to, artists like myself. I interview bus drivers, flight attendants, active duty military. I mean, we basically interview anybody whose life happens on the road. And we kind of ask them all about what that's like, and you kind of get a peek behind the curtain. I always say it's a great podcast for people that are on the road, that just kind of want to connect and hear from other people what that is like, but also for people that have always wondered, well, what is that like, right? To kind of get that peek behind the curtain. So we just launched it at the beginning of June. We drop episodes every other Friday, so bi-weekly episodes, and I'm loving it. I'm having the best time with it, and it's just been a joy.
Yeah. So for our listeners of Musicians and Beyond, please make sure you follow her. And I'm going to ask your followers to give us a follow as well, because we have some fantastic guests. We've had people from Cher, Night Ranger, Extreme, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and the list goes on. And we're honored to have you.
Oh, well, thank you, of course. And yes, everyone should definitely follow. I love your podcast. So I was very
Thank you.
honored when you guys asked me to come on. And, again, I clearly have enough projects, I guess you could say, with being an artist and touring and writing and recording. But I started a podcast because I love connecting with people and I love telling my story or someone else's. I'm a storyteller. So I love podcasts. I love what you guys do. And yeah, I just think you guys are awesome. And I was honored when you asked me to come on today. So thank you.
Thank you
Yeah.
for coming on. Yeah, isn't it awesome? You just get to talk to people that you would have never met before. You
Mhm.
find out all about them. You help each other out, and it's such a wonderful thing. I started I think it's 4 years ago now, and I have met so many incredible people.
Oh, yeah. And, there's even a couple of people I have interviewed that I've, kind of known or known of. And I feel like we leave that episode and I know so much more about them than I ever did. And I'm like, oh, this is so awesome.
Yeah, it's only an hour, but when the people leave, you feel as though they're a friend of yours.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm like basically just growing my family every time we hit record because we go into so much deep stuff and it's awesome. And I love that. And I think too, and a huge reason why I started Asphalt, a podcast all about life on the road. Clearly, I know a lot about that lifestyle and all, but I kind of almost wish that there was a podcast like that when I had started out touring, because I think sometimes you can definitely get pretty lonely, right? We were talking about that earlier. Like the music business is kind of tough. So I think having a place where people can go and just be like, I'm not alone, like this is pretty normal, or giving
Right.
tips and tricks to like how to stay healthy when you're out on the road and how do you take care of yourself. And plus then we laugh because we tell crazy wild road stories where you're like, is this real life? Like really? And so yeah, I've just so enjoyed though getting to start this podcast. I knew I was going to like it, but now that we're in the depths of like filming and putting out an episode every other week and all that, I'm like, this is awesome. I should have done this years ago.
Right, right. I watched your last episode with Tyler Kors.
Hmm.
That was a great episode. So I'm
Thank
going to have
you.
to dig deeper and start watching the other ones and check them out. But
Yeah.
you got me hooked when I watched the first one.
Ah, thank you so much. Yeah, and honestly, like the guest, I think can make such a big difference. And I love Tyler Kors. You guys should definitely check him out. You should have him on the show. I was gonna say that'd probably be awesome.
That'd be
But
great.
yeah, I mean, he's an incredible vocalist. But he took us all about his life on the road. Being on shows like The Voice and Fox's I Can See Your Voice, and just his own musical journey. And he has such an incredible story to tell. So I loved every second. It's a great episode. I thought I loved it.
Awesome. Awesome. So again, for our listeners, make sure you check out Ash Taylor, ashtaylor.com, and check out her new Ashfault podcast. It's fantastic. So let's get back a little bit to some music. I'd like to play another one of your songs. Which one do you think they'll like all of them, but which would you like to play for our listeners?
Yeah, I feel like there's so many, but I put out a song last summer that I think is really fun and I think a lot of people will enjoy. I call it a song for the times. It's a song called Cigarette.
Okay, so let's listen to Ash Taylor with Cigarette.
We begin tonight with the nation already on edge as protests turn violent across America.
9 young people are being held.
Turn on the TV, see the fighting in the streets. Everybody is losing their minds. No, you can't trust your neighbor. We're all told to pick a side. We're all human, but we're not always kind. And everybody's got their own way. I'm just gonna smoke another cigarette. Watch it all burn from my front porch. Rolling to the stones coming out of that old cassette. I've got no regrets, cause life's too short. So while the world goes to shit, I'm just gonna sit and smoke another cigarette. Now some call me crazy, I just think they need to chill. Take it easy and just let it roll. Cause you do what you can, cause you can't do it all. I ain't stressing when it's out of control. And everybody's got their own way. I'm just gonna smoke another cigarette. Watch it all burn from my front porch. Rolling to the stones coming out of that old cassette. I've got no regrets, cause life's too short. So while the world goes to shit, I'm just gonna sit and smoke another cigarette. Oh, light 'em up. I'm just gonna smoke another cigarette. Watch it all burn from my front porch. Rolling to the stones coming out of that old cassette. I've got no regrets, cause life's too short. So while the world goes to shit, I'm just gonna sit and smoke another cigarette. Smoke another cigarette. Smoke another cigarette. Oh yeah.
All right, Ash. No pun intended, a cigarette. Ash, get it?
I didn't even
was
plan
stupid.
that, and there we are. Yeah.
All right. That was Ash Taylor with Cigarette. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually wrote that song during the pandemic, during the lockdown. I grew up, there was a lady basically in our neighborhood at the time that was, I like to call her a hoot. And she basically, has, the world's kind of going down the toilet and everyone's panicking and freaking out and all this stuff. She would go outside every day in a Walmart lawn chair and a moo and she would smoke a cigarette. And she just kind of had this like, well, can't fix it attitude. And she cracked me up, man. And she was just cool and easygoing. And so I went into a co-write with my friend Kiana Noel Myers, fantastic singer-songwriter here in Nashville. And I was telling her about my neighbor. And so we wrote that song. Oh man, another one that came just real quick. But I mean, I think it's one of those things where there's only so much you can do, and we want to make sure we're doing what we can do and make a difference. But you also just got to laugh, and you got to take it easy. And it's like, no reason to stress. Some things you just can't change. And so that's kind of what Cigarette is about, is just kind of approaching life where it's like you do what you can because you can't do it all, and just kind of approaching life with that thing. And I think sometimes, in the world, even today, we can turn on the TV and a lot of doom and gloom and stuff. So I wanted to release something that I thought would hopefully take the edge off for people and just kind of remind them, like, do what you can because you can't do it all. And I think there's some cool lines in there, like, we all might be human, but we're not always kind. like the humankind and just some good stuff in there. I think it's important to kind of remind yourself and take a laugh and not take things too seriously because you can't change the world, unfortunately.
That's true. So the
Yeah.
last couple of songs that you talked about, you did mention that they came easy to you
Mhm.
and that you wrote them fairly quick. Is that the norm for you, or uh, do you sometimes run into roadblocks and you could work on something for weeks and weeks and still not get exactly what you want?
I feel like some songs can come super quick, but then some of my songs may take me years, believe it or not. It's really an interesting process, I think, to being an artist and a songwriter, because the song may come, for example, really quick, like I may write a song in an hour, but then when I go then and go, okay, I think I'm going to release this one, going into then like the studio, sometimes I know this may sound silly, but I think it's just part of the creative process. Sometimes like I'll have a song written and I'll be really sure that I'm like, hey, yeah, that's great. And then I get in the studio and I go, I could do better. And so sometimes I'll tweak a line or sometimes I'll rewrite a guitar part. And I really try to take time to get really creative and just to kind of dive into things. And so then sometimes, though, I feel like I'm kind of almost rewriting bits and pieces of the song as I record it because I kind of realize it can be better if that kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
I think when I sit here by myself and it's me and an acoustic guitar, that's really cool. And, I'll play a song and knock it out and it's awesome. But then I'll go to like Chris, my husband, and I'll like usually play him just, go sit down on the couch and be like, hey, I just wrote this. And then he'll come up with like a cool guitar part. And then we're like, that's it. That's great. And we'll usually go play the song live at least once or twice. And I want to know, like, how does the audience react, right? So if I don't get to the end of that first chorus and people are smiling, clapping, laughing, crying, whatever it is that I'm trying to convey, I usually don't record those songs. I go, those are not good.
Yeah. So,
So
so, so you let your listener make the decision for you.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think, that's one of the things I love about playing live. So I may think a song is fantastic, but if I go in front of a crowd, whether that be a listening room or a big loud bar, and if I basically cannot play that song and get a good reaction from the crowd, I usually don't record those songs.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of songs that I've written that I think are really good songs. I mean, I don't think they're bad, but they just didn't convey. I mean, they didn't connect with people the way that I think they should. So I always look to see what the crowd does the first couple of times we play a song. And that's how I know that I'm like, that's a song we should take the time and the money and the effort to record. And then when I go in the studio, I'm like, all right, let's make this the best that it can be. And when you get an incredible band behind you, like my past couple of records, we've had Charlie Morgan on drums, and he was Elton John's drummer for, oh my gosh, I think it was like 30 plus years. I mean, he plays the James Bond soundtrack. That's him
Oh,
leading the
wow.
orchestra on the drums. I mean, the guy's incredible. Not a country drummer, but perfect for what we do. So, but like we've recorded now a couple of times with him. And so when you get someone like that putting down a drum beat, that may change the way I sing a line for the better, And it's like I kind of get in a groove and a vibe. And then, Pat, who is my producer, he has been for years. He's produced everything I've ever put out. He's actually by trait a legendary bass player. He played with Charlie Daniels Band,
Oh, wow.
Lori Morgan, Tracy Lawrence. So he's kind of more of that old school country type bass player, and I love his bass playing. But he's also an incredible producer and engineer. So then you get Pat laying down this bass thing, and that makes me just want to be like, ah, this is so great. And so yeah, and so then by the time I have Chris and I put down our guitar parts, it's like that song is so much better. It's taken my life. So then when I go to lay my final vocal down, I'm like, I'm playing off of their energy, right? And so it's like I'm just looking to make it the best it can be. And I hope when people listen to my records that that comes across.
Right. So if you were to listen to your first cut to the last cut, they may sound like two completely different songs.
Always.
Always.
Yeah, always. Because again, and I think sometimes and I'm very guilty of this, so it's not a it's not a cut down, but sometimes I think people can get really married to their art, right? Where if you write a song or if you always play it a certain way, maybe a certain tempo, a certain key, a certain this, you're very married to it. You're very stuck in this idea of like, well, this is the way that it is. And maybe you're right, and maybe it should be that way. But I think there's something to be said where it's like, to me, there's a feeling in my gut when I know something isn't quite right. Right. And it's like, that could be better. That could be better. But I'm very, like, I listen and I basically like critique everything about myself. I look at the lyrics. I go, could the melody be better? Could this be better? Could that be better? I really do a deep dive and try not to be married to anything. It could be the any part of that song, right? A guitar track, a drum part, any of it. I'm not married to it until I'm ready to put it out. And then at that time I thought about it and I've been so intentional, then I feel like it just kind of is like, oh, yeah, cool. Now I'm married to it.
Mhm.
And then that's the way we play it live at the show, right? So it sounds like the record, but hopefully better. That's always the goal.
Yeah, you got to love a live show.
Oh, totally. I think that was one of the things during the pandemic I really struggled with. The last show I played before the lockdown was actually a sold out show at the Bluebird. And it was awesome and it was special and just amazing. And we were so packed in there. And then literally like a few weeks later, the lockdown happened and
Mhm.
I didn't get to play a show for a couple of years, as things were opening up and it was a lot of change. So yeah, I think that's maybe why when I've after the pandemic have kind of reapproached music, if you will, and started to release songs again and do all this stuff. I think that's why I've made my live show a huge part of what I do because I realize like this is really, really important. It really is.
The Bluebird Cafe is one of my favorite places to go. I try to get down to
Mm,
Nashville once, twice a year, hopefully if I can. And the
yeah.
Bluebird, it's just it's just a room, but the iconicness of it is crazy. It's in a little strip mall. I think there's a laundromat next door. So it's very unassuming. And you walk in there and it's just magical. So
Yeah.
and especially as the artist, you playing in such an intimate setting must be so cool. Like literally, the people sitting around you can reach over and touch your shoulder.
Yes, yeah. No, anytime I play the Bluebird, I've been really blessed to play it a couple of times. I get emotional. I
Mm,
really do. Because I think too, it's very intimate. Like you said, I mean, I'll put my water glass on the table like behind me. And the last time I played there, I even had guitar picks and some stuff that was on a stranger's table. But I was like, hey, mind if I set these here? And they're like, no problem. So it's very, very close, very intimate, very special. The history in that building, though,
oh,
being a country music fan first, especially, I mean, you got that's where Garth Brooks and Taylor Swift were discovered, right? Is
mhm.
there at the Bluebird, and just the amount of people that have got to sit in that circle, right? I mean, that's the thing. There's not even a stage there. I mean, you just sit in a circle and just, again, I'm such a songwriter and a storyteller. I love that. I mean, that's why I got into music, right? So I think for me to be in the place where that kind of storyteller, we sit in a circle and we share the story behind the song and we share these songs, whether they're perfect or, whatever, it's like you just share your story and it's just like this beautiful spiritual thing. And out of all the places I played, I think that still just holds the most weight, I would say, because it is very, very special.
It is a special place for sure.
Yeah.
So before we
Yeah.
let you go, I look at you that you're very successful,
Mm.
established musician, singer, songwriter. You've had people cut your music, all kinds of things. What is your outlook on where you would like to be in a few years? What is your end goal?
Mm. I feel like as soon as I make an end goal, in my experience, I hit that goal and then there's a new end goal.
I
But,
love it.
currently for me, I think something in the next couple of years that I'm really working towards and that I would really love to achieve is actually playing the Grand Ole Opry. Um, right now we've been touring all over the country this past year. I'm actually getting ready to go to Ohio and offer some other shows, and I'm working on all this new music and all this different stuff, and I'm loving it. But I think if I could ever play the Grand Ole Opry, I think I could die the next day and I'd be totally happy. I think there's something very special about, again, the history of that place and what that means, and having the honor to represent country music, right? And step in that circle. And if I am ever lucky enough to be blessed with that opportunity, I'm going to cry. I can tell you right now, I will bawl like a baby. But I think that is something that is definitely at the height of my priority list and something I'd love to achieve.
Well, it's a great goal, and I think it's easily obtainable by someone like yourself. So,
Well,
uh,
thank you so much. I appreciate that. We'll have
yeah,
to get you guys tickets then
uh,
when that debut happens.
I'll come down. I'm going to hold you to that.
Awesome. Please do.
So, again, to our listeners, this is Ash Taylor, and you can find out about her on ashtaylor.com. Instagram is Ash Taylor Country, and then Facebook and YouTube is Ash Taylor. Is there anything else that I'm missing?
No, I think you nailed it all. Very impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, so I did my homework.
You did. It
So-
shows. Thank you
So
so much.
make sure you go check out Ash. She's an awesome person and an incredible musician. And like we said earlier when we were talking about the podcasters, people come onto our show and we either never met them before or we have a mutual acquaintance. And I feel that you came as an acquaintance and you're leaving as a friend. So we want to thank you for coming on Musicians and Beyond and being our friend.
Hey, thank you so much. Your friendship sure means a lot. And just thank you for all you do. I know how much work goes into a podcast, and I just appreciate you having me on and letting me, share and tell my story. And just thank you. Thank you so much for all that you do.
It was our pleasure.